Winter bikes don't have to be shit. In fact, they should be something that we really enjoy riding, something that's going to really inspire us to get out and ride in all that wet and grimy weather. And we have something that's really smart, sophisticated, comfortable and reassuring to ride. That's what this video is all about. We're going to be building this bike up, not concentrating on the frame because we have covered this frame to death. This is all about making all the accessories work perfectly so you can be seen in that dark weather and hopefully stay dry. Okay. Let's get started. Now, like most winter bike projects, we have taken a used group set that's been downgraded from the best bike and now sort of sat in a box ready for a new bike. So this is an Ultegra 11-speed Di2, the one that still has the cable running through, so no wireless stuff. We've stripped this off the owner's bike. In fact, the owner is actually Simon. Simon's commissioned this build for himself. And a bit about Simon's training. He trains incredibly hard for time trial races, and a lot of his training in the winter is either downstairs in the gym, personal training with our coach Vicky, or outside doing zone 2 miles, and he wants to be dry and comfortable just to go and get those nice steady miles in. So we've gone for the Look 765 because it is a proper endurance bike. It's long wheelbase, slack geometry, perfect for cruising around. But most importantly, it also comes with all the mudguard mounts. And that's how we're going to start this video, by first of all getting on a really good set of mudguards that's actually going to function. We're going to be fitting a proper full length mudguard like this. This is the SKS Bluemels matte, so it does look quite smart and sophisticated. Now, when it comes to road bikes, there's not an awful lot of choice. There's loads of choice in touring and mountain bikes, but for road bikes, we need something that's going to be about 38 to 40 millimeters wide. They do a nice aluminium one, but it's just too wide. Specialized do make one actually that's 40 millimeters wide and metal. I'll show you that on my bike. And the reason we can't fit it onto this is because it has the different mountings, and the mountings on this are much more common. So we've got a mounting point halfway up the fork, and we also have this bridge here. So really there's only two in the market. There's one by Portland Cycle Works, which is quite hard to get hold of, and these several versions of this from SKS. SKS are probably the most famous brand in mudguards out there. They're good, they're reliable, and most importantly, you can get all sorts of manner of parts. So all the various bolts and adjustment bits and pieces, and you can get various sort of frame accessories like this. So if your bike does have sort of some funky mounting points, SKS normally do an accessory pack that will help you get a really good, smart looking fit. On this frame, we have a few mounting points actually. We have a mounting point right the way down here, a mounting point just here, which we may or may not use, a mounting point here, which we'll definitely want to use. Quick one on mudguards, just to help any questions you might have. So my Optimum, the silver one with the red, I actually brought when they first came out what we now call the Generation 1, and these had a different mudguard mount. So the mudguard mounts were down here, so this little grub screw here, and you had this extension piece, but there's no bridge here. There's no way you can put a bridge. So mine are quite floppy here. I'm going to be really careful of that. Arguably, they do look a bit better. And arguably I probably can get an extra couple of millimeters of tyre clearance in there if I can stop them wobbling around. In reality, I found that I still go down to a 28 just because with the 30 the mudguard flaps around too much. These mudguards, if you do have a Generation 1, Look did actually make the first gen ones themselves, but now the best ones to look for are the specialised, they're called Dry Tech mudguards, have the same sort of setup, almost the same mudguard to be honest, but all the new ones, the ones that we're selling now, are Generation 2 like you've seen in the video so far on Simon's bike. Hope that helps. Cool, now I've got a pretty loose and floppy fit. Let's get some stays on here. With SKS mudguards, you get two different types of stays. You get these ones which are like wiry, and at the end here you can see that it's just like completely part of the wire, and on this one here there's like a little plastic fitting on there. Now the plastic fitting one is for the front wheel, so you've got like a breakable safety mechanism, so you can just about see this flexes and moves. And the idea is that if you inadvertently caught your foot as you were trying to steer, this should break rather than cause you to have a nasty accident, get all fouled up on it, etc. You should be able to just, you know, recover. I've only ever seen that happen once, to be honest. It's quite a nice feature, but when it does happen, it's quite scary, I've heard. It's not happened to me personally, but if you've experienced that, please let people know down in the comments. experience is shared, etc. So we're going to need these ones for the back. So here's the bit that everybody hates. We've got these little bolts here. So what we have is like a nut, but it's kind of open on one end, and we have these nuts here with a hole in. So what actually happens is this goes down and gets held captive by this part here. So this is where we're trying to get this in two locations really. So we're going to thread this on, and then this needs to come up and through here. This pops through like that. So you have this sort of situation. Trick is, don't worry too much if you end up bending them a little bit, because part of the fitting process is to give them, these little wires, a little bit of a subtle bend just to help everything get lined up. Talking of which, we need a back wheel. These are probably not the wheels that Simon's going to rerun in on this bike. We're still debating whether we rebuild these onto a different hub, and these definitely aren't the tyres either, but they will do for now for getting all this lined up. First up, we need to create a little bit of room down here. Now, it's always dead tempting when you have mudguards, try and get them as neat and as low as possible like this and make them look really slick. You do need a bit of a gap, because if you pick up a stone or something, you need to make sure there's enough room for it to be ejected rather than just get stuck and then drive itself into your tyre. So as much as it is tempting to have a really neat looking thing, practicalities are you probably need to give yourself about 8 millimeters of clearance around the whole thing. Going to be about there. So, and I think to achieve that, what we might do is just drill a hole and actually use this back one just so we can pull that off the tyre a little bit and give ourselves a little bit of clearance. What we're fitting down here that doesn't come with the pack is one of these. This is an M5 cap head bolt like this. It might actually be N4 saying that. We want something that's going to be as low profile on the head as possible so it doesn't risk touching the tyre. There we go. Oh, that was so much better. That was really worth putting that extra bolt in. So we now have good clearance there. So what we're going to do is, I think we're going to shimmy these up a little bit. The next section is to try and get this all in position. So now we have a little game to play, a little bit like truing a wheel, where we're just trying to use these stays to true up and work out the best place to put it. So happy with that. We'll do a little bit more of a true up when we get the proper tyres and wheels in. But for now, we do have this little eyesore to get rid of, and that needs to be cut. So what we have with SKS, you have these little protectors that go onto here, but you are sort of going to need to pull them down and across, and they sort of sit like that. On the front, these are actually still designed old school for going behind a brake mount, but the actual underneath here, there is a bolt. So we're going to get a drill to this and drill out these two rivets. So we just have a hole here, and we are essentially going to fit this. So that bolts up in there, and we have our two stays here, and we just don't need this piece at all. In fact, it's probably about time, SKS, that you just kind of got rid of this, because I think days of rim brakes, etc., probably disc brakes are definitely outnumbering them in popularity, that's for sure. Right, let's go downstairs to the workshop and drill this out. Okay, it is time to talk about wheels and tyres. So first of all, this is quite a sexy winter bike, so we are going to go for some carbon rims. These are the Ven 40 TCD that we have built onto some DT Swiss 240s, and with brass nipples. So good, reliable winter wheel choice, if a little bit on the sexy side. However, the most important thing about this is winter tyres. Now, here is an interesting quandary, because this frame has tyre clearance for up to 35 millimeters, which is pretty generous for a road bike. However, we have just put a 35 millimeter mudguard in that space. Now, up here, we could probably get away with a little bit more, but down here is definitely pretty tight. Now, the problem with that is we now can't fit a 34 or even a 32 millimeter tyre, because we're going to need to make sure that there is some overlap, because you want to make sure, first of all, your tyre is not going to be rubbing on all of these, and there's enough of a gap so that any debris, detritus doesn't just give you a puncture. So most mudguard manufacturers will recommend about 7 millimeters of clearance on either side, and will give you a recommended maximum width of your tyre. So in the case of these, they actually recommend a 28 millimeter to give you enough clearance either side. You probably could stretch that to a 30 if you really wanted to, but you definitely couldn't go to a 32 or a 34. There's absolutely no chance. It would overflow on the side and you just get water spray, and it would just be a bad thing to do. So you have that compromise to make between, are you going to fit a really wide grippy tyre, or do you want absolute full length coverage on your mudguards? Because if you do want the wide tyre, you won't be able to fit mudguards like this. You're going to have to go for mudguards that stick on the outside and are therefore an awful lot wider, and you won't get the coverage. Everybody's individual. Simon is going to be riding this a lot in the rain, he predicts, and he really values the absolute full length mudguards, and I think this is a wiser choice. Other thing that we can do when we fit 28s is that we can run these at a higher pressure. And the thing with winter riding is that you don't always see all the potholes because they've got filled in with water or leaves. There tends to be more debris on the road, etc. So you might sacrifice some comfort, some ride comfort, for knowing that you're not going to get pinch flats and that sort of thing if you do hit potholes that you don't see. These are a hooked rim, and we have got them set up tubeless, so our max pressure on these is 87 psi. Now Pirrelli have got these all written on the side. For tubeless straight side, the max pressure is just 73, and a maximum pressure with an inner tube is 101. So if we do get a puncher out on the road and we need to then put more air in it, you know that you can go up to 100 psi with a hand pump or whatever you happen to find with an inner tube. Now, here is an interesting thing, because quite a lot of winter tyres aren't rated the same. So if you look at the Zip tyre compatibility, for instance, you'll find that most 28s aren't compatible with a straight side rim. The ones that are tend to be the real race specified ones. There's very few winter tyres that are specified to use as a 28, so be really, really careful with that. These especially will not work on Simon's Zip 303s that you saw earlier, but they're absolutely fine on these hooks. So basically, check the details. If you're going to put this in, you can't run a wide tyre, and if you can't run a wide tyre, make sure that your narrow tyre is going to work hookless and everything else. We should be golden. So these are the Pirrelli Cinturato Velos, a really good winter tyre, suitable for all sorts of conditions and still pretty quick as well. Do like these. I have to admit, when they first came out, we had a few little problems with them blistering, but I haven't seen that for at least 18 months, and Pirrelli was super quick getting them sorted. So really, really happy that we can fit these really nice tyres. A lot of our customers actually just run these year round, to be honest, because the performance difference isn't that massive. It doesn't feel like it anyway. Looking good. Now, before I take this downstairs and start bleeding all the brakes up where I've got all the equipment, I want to have a look at this cockpit area, because one of the things we really want to do is make this whole bike look smart and sophisticated, but in its winter dress. So what we've done up here with the cockpit, the Look 765 is one of those designs which is sort of semi-integrated. So even though the cables run internally, the actual cables sit externally here. This whole headset is actually made by Token. So it's a Token headset, and then they use this, they call it a cable cover. Now, for those of you who've been watching the channel for a long time, you'll see when I first got my bike that this part was missing, and famously, Look have never got on top of that. These parts are nearly always missing from these frames. So if you ever buy one from us, I guarantee you, we have these in stocks, your frame will definitely come with this part. But the actual stem it works with, the Look LS3 stem, pretty smart design. So it's basically just the bottom part of the stem sort of being removed, and you've got this little channel here, so it just keeps the cables nice and neat. So really, when you look at it, you have to look quite closely to see the cables, but most of the time it looks pretty neat. It just means that putting it in a box or moving it around, you can get to things quite easily. I quite like it. The only weird thing is it looks like you should be able to fit some sort of sexy Garmin mount on there, because it's got all the curves, but I don't think Look actually ever made a proper integrated mount to work with it. And I've got various sort of hacks and bodges around it. The one that I use is like a K-edge design that you've probably seen before, and we've found some other stuff. So this one is from Cane Creek, and that will sort of replace these two bolts here. These can be pretty expensive, but also quite limiting depending on the size of your device. In actual fact, the bit that we're going to use is the Topeak UTF Multi-Mount Pro, which has like a 2 handlebar mount. So it's going to have 2 bar clamps here. And one of the reasons for that is that we want to hang quite a bit of weight off it, because we want to build in all of our lighting system as well. And also the handlebar that we've got kind of lends itself to it. So lots and lots of ways to skin a cat with this, but this is what we're going to use. Also, Simon uses one of the big long Garmins, so we kind of need a bit of extra extension on there to accommodate the larger screen Garmins. If you have never seen one of these, the pictures on the box do not do it justice. The pictures actually look really plasticky. In reality, this is all metal construction on here. Only this little bit here that's plastic, and it actually blends in really well with it as well. So let me show you what this looks like actually mounted. All these bits, like winterproof, they are actually brass inlets in there as well. Nice little touch Topeak, not just screwing into plastic, there's actually a proper brass bit in there as well. Excellent. That all looks and feels very solid, which is important because I want to hang a really good light off this. So it's all built in, integrated, just ready to go all the time. It's not one of those faffs that you have to do. I'm in two minds about this really. Now, I like the Moon range. I've been using the Moon range on my mountain bike for quite a long time. I think they kind of strike a good balance. So I feel like on the road, probably about 1500 lumens is about as much as you ever want to go, because a couple of things happen. One, everything bounces back at you if it's really bright, but also the car drivers start to get really dazzled. And when you dazzle a car driver, they do really erratic things. Either they overtake you and you suddenly dazzle them and they put their brakes on, or they come towards you and they have to sort of stop. And so personally, I feel like 1500 is about as big as you want to go on the road. That's my experience. Again, the comment section is down there for you to add your own experience. So we're going to be fitting this because Simon wants to be able to go out at night or early in the morning, and he feels like 1000 lumens is the right place to go. If you're like me, I probably don't cycle much on the road in the dark. I'm more like going out in the twilight and maybe I get a bit caught out. I quite like the Meteor. I've been using these for quite a long time. They're super robust. I've had mine for like 3 or 4 years now, thinking they're still going strong and quite cheap as well. But we're going to be fitting this, and there really isn't much size and weight difference anymore. There really isn't. So there we are. That's it, pretty much all enclosed in metal case. Garmin mount on there, so you can, if you're not using your Garmin, you can literally just put it in, twist, and you've got a properly solid mount there. However, if you're like Simon and you want your Garmin for everything, navigation, recording all your stats, we are going to be mounting it underneath here. And the other option you have in the box, it comes with a little mount like this, so we can twist that onto here and then mount it on like a GoPro mount. So you could actually use this for a GoPro if you're into that sort of thing. So with these, it's hard to do on the stand, but you generally want to sort of angle it down so it's a bit like your car headlights, not just dazzling people. So you can just angle that and get it all locked into place. And it's not like you're doing this every single time you want to change lights, because then you want to take it off and charge it. You just pull it off and it's solid. These are actually USB-C. Look at that. USB-C finally making its way onto almost everything. Cool to operate these. One, when they come shipped, they come locked, but once you unlock them, it's just one simple click and you're on. And then you've got various modes, as you can imagine. It gets brighter and brighter and eventually goes into a click. And to turn it off, you just press and hold. So there's no like weird double click thing to remember. And to be honest, super waterproof. Really, really like Moon lights. I think they're a good little value for money and quite smart designs. Got to mention one cool feature I do like about this. It's got one of those auto off functions. So you know when you come back off your ride and you're absolutely freezing cold and you just put your bike to one side, go jump in the shower, leave your light on, the next thing you know it's decharged. This actually has like a auto sensing no activity mode and it just turns itself off. Dead handy. Very quickly, when it comes to rear lights, just pretty much get the brightest one they can do. They're doing an 80 lumen one. I can't really see the point. Just go straight for the 100 lumen one. You just want to be seen right, and you're not going to be so bright that you're going to be dazzling people. So just go bright. So this is the Helix Max. Again, I like designs that are nice and small and slim and just sit neatly on the back of the seat tube. I think it's the best place. I'm not a massive fan of the ones that mount onto your actual mudguards because I think the extra weight bobbles them around unless you're using really rigid metal mudguards like you find on some cycle touring ones. I think the seat post is the best place to go. They do some really cool saddle mounts, but then I personally like having all my tools in my saddle bag, so really mounting it on the back of the seat post I think is the best place. I thought we were just going to get a rubber band in here, but actually we've got a little seat post mount, so that goes on there, and the rubber band like I just talked about. We've got a clip. Actually, these are quite cool depending on the type of bag you've got. This will actually clip onto the saddle bag, And there's actually one there for the saddle rails, which is kind of interesting. I might give that a go later, but I was initially just going to use the rubber band one, but flashes, constant on, all the normal functions you'd expect. So these ones are click to turn on and you get like various flashing modes. I don't know about you, but I actually just like steady mode. So double click and you're in steady light. Happy days. New bike day, Simon. What are your first thoughts so far?
Oh, super impressed, actually. It's met my expectations and more, to be honest. I mean...
So you normally ride a race bike, don't you? Yeah, this is very relaxed and long for you.
It's very, very different for me.
Bit of a departure. So what have you found the difference?
Particularly, I know it's on the tighter corners. I feel it doesn't have the same kind of feel going into the corner in terms of positivity. It's a little bit more sloppy, a little bit.
Yeah, the ball will tend to flop a bit more like a mountain bike, yeah, for sure.
I need grace on these little lanes, tight turning circle. Much better turning circle, I think.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah. Where I was turning around to reposition myself. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and your lights, you found it's got the little motion sensor, so when you're not riding, it will just turn itself
off.
I
thought, they got off, but no, it's the motion sensor. Very smart, so very effective.
You just got to remember, if you stop for a cafe, turn them back on again.
But I love the simplicity of how they come on and off. The fittings are really quick, off, easy to put on and off.
It's got to be easy. When you got cold hands and you just want to get inside, you just need stuff to be easy, don't you?
Totally. And what I love is the Mudguards, because winter bikes, Mudguards flapping around, bouncing around, or not quite fitted properly, or catching on the frame. These just fit.
Or only covering half your tyre and you still get soaking wet.
Yeah, because don't catch you. Even though you've got overshoes on, it falls inside your shoe, whereas these go right down, and I'm looking forward to riding in some really wet weather.
We're fortunate today with a nice dry-ish day, but watch this space. We'll report back when it gets really wet.
But overall, no. The weight and everything, I mean, it's not dissimilar from the bike I had before.
Actually, 8.8.
8.8, everything on it. Yeah.
With power meter pedals, mudguards, winter tyres, lights, everything, 8.8 kilos.
Yeah, very, very impressive.
Happy days.
Feels nice climbing as well, so I was quite impressed. And I love the bars as well, by the way, that we put on.
Oh yeah, we put aero bars on there.
Which just makes it all
bit sexy for an aero bike. And 40 mil deep. I think 40 mil is probably a sensible size for winter. Still a little edge towards aero.
Oh, I'd also say you've done a great job with the wheels, because the wheels just tie in beautifully as well.
Yeah, they'll do look nice, actually.
So really pleased with the overall thing. I guess we were saying just silver spokes, black maybe.
Oh yeah, it would have been nice if these were black. But
otherwise, no, great winter bike, and I'm looking forward to clocking some serious miles on this too.
One thing worth mentioning, we talked in the video earlier about the width. Those are quite wide internals. Even though they're hooked, they're still quite wide. So the tyres actually measured just over 30.
Yeah, 30.2 when I measured it last night on a 28 tyre, which I was pretty pleased with.
Probably a little bit tight on clearance on the back mudguard, but we haven't had anything vibrate or touch yet, have we?
Not had, fingers crossed, nothing's touched or rubbed, and it's been great.
So 30 millimetres is probably as far as you want to go.
I wouldn't want to go
That's
further.
Measured width, not like what's written on the side.
It's actually measured. It was 28 the tyre, but on 30.2 on the gauge. So happy days.
Right, let's go get warm. So if this video has inspired you to build your own winter bike, I might have something you're interested in. This is the Look 765. We have 10 of these in stock and a really special offer. So this special offer includes one cable cover, absolutely guarantee that will come in the box. An LS3 stem, this doesn't normally come with this bike, 110 quid's worth of stem. The set of mudguards, £49.99's worth of mudguards. 2 tyres, these are the Cinturato Velo 28s, £64.99 each. Of course, the mount as well, £47.99 of Topeak multi-mount, excellent. Front light and rear light, this is the Rigel Pro 1000 lumens, $59.99 light and a $36.99 250 lumens rear light. So that's everything you need for your bike, but what about your own personal comfort in winter? Well, we have, courtesy of our friends at Spatswear, this is the burner hat, a little cycling cap with ear covers as well, as modelled by Simon. Really good at keeping you warm. You lose most of your heat through your head. Fantastic bit of kit. And after your head, what about your feet? So these are a set of cycling specific socks from Bridgedale, made in the UK, but a little bit different because they put the seam underneath rather than on top of the toe box as well. Works much better in a cycling situation. Lovely warm socks, but not loads of volume that's going to affect the fit too much. More on these coming up. And of course, because you'll be riding a little bit wet, is some chamois butter. In winter, I think this works better if you apply it directly to the chamois as opposed to directly to your skin, because in winter when you ride wet, you're much more open to moisture, movement and chafing. So some quality, a big tub of chamois butter, be liberal with it. So All of this product you can see here is worth over 500 quid, and all of this comes for free if you're going to buy a frame, a 765 frame from us. And if you don't fancy building your own bike, why don't you give us a call and speak to Jake?
If you fill out the contact form on our website, you'll get through to me. I'll respond within 24 hours and we can start putting together your dream custom build.
Ask anything. And if you like this sort of content, please think about subscribing to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you sometime soon here at Map Deck, and maybe even collecting a new bike. Cheers for watching.